Okay, well, let's move on to the next thing that caught our eye, which is Light No Fire. Now, Sean Murray from Hello Games joined Jeff Keighley on the stage. There's kind of like a retrospective of everything that happened with No Man's Sky over the years. And I think this really was an interesting way to start off that segment, simply because No Man's Sky itself is a game with a kind of checkered history. It's a game that actually came good over the years, continued investment from the developer. It's just got better and better over the years. It's a completely different game now to well, first of all, what was released, but secondly, what was actually announced back in the
Right.
day. Mm-hmm. And then we had this really interesting transition to, okay, we've done the universe. We've done the universe, we've done the galaxy, now we're going to do the Earth. And it's kind of like a fantasy representation of the Earth, viewed through the lens of Hello Games and what seems to be their procedural systems. We did actually see a fair bit of footage
Right.
of the game, but what you actually do in it, who knows? Oliver, what do you make of it?
What I think is interesting with this trailer, relative to what you see from a game like No Man's Sky, is that you actually do have like a really sculpted world, not like the kind of No Man's Sky style proc gen, which is maybe a little bit more obviously procedurally generated. This looks like plausibly it could be some kind of Skyrim style game that is actually a handcrafted experience, or at least, just examining the skyline, you're not obviously seeing something that's generated by a computer, which is a great credit to them. So I think the visuals look pretty good. It's obviously based on procedural generation. Some people are not huge fans of that. I do like the idea of a more RPG style effort from Hello Games. And I also like the idea of an RPG with infinite content. That sounds like a very cool idea. And I also like the idea that they're not going to try to do something with as wide of a scope as No Man's Sky, which I think is probably better for the overall consistency and the quality of the experience. So from what we've seen so far, I think it looks interesting, but like you said, it's kind of hard to make out exactly what this will be. It does look like maybe there's some co-op elements to it. At least there's a lot of cooperative gameplay with some kind of allied player or non-player character in this trailer. So that would seem
they set their stall straight away, which is to say multiplayer.
Oh, right.
That was one of the first captions that comes up.
Right.
But yeah, fascinating stuff. Alex?
Just to talk about why I think Oliver sees what he sees is because with No Man's Sky, you have like an entire planet that is mostly a single biome, and it is like a random seed. It is. Yeah. It's very obviously so. And it can obviously produce interesting looks in its own right. It's cool, but it has that look. And as soon as you go to dedicated a single planet, at least, it could also be multiple, but just also artist driven, is that you'll have one predefined geography, most likely, and then like rule based placement and scattering of like different assets. And you'll get actually much more natural formations than you get from just like a sphere that has like a random height map on it. So like I'm very happy to see that, because it creates one, I think, just a more compelling looking world. And presumably with the different biomes that are shown off in the trailer, it'll have a great deal of variety in it. That is always great to see. I think this is trying to capture the same feeling. I covered Valheim like 2 years ago now, I think it was. Mm-hmm. And it's like that, like survival co-op crafting, because the person in the trailer, like they run up, and I swear they ran to a tree with an axe. They don't show them cutting it, I don't think, but like that's definitely in there. And there's like a house that's being assembled, probably because at night, if you've ever played Terraria or if you ever played Minecraft, like things get a little bit scarier at night. You need light and warmth, and you need to be sheltered. So I think it's going to try and capture that all within the fantasy realm of whatever, dungeons that exist in the world, much like they exist in all these other games that I just mentioned. There's like dungeon environments that are scattered throughout caves usually. I think it's going to be going for that. And I think that is going to be compelling in its own right for a lot of people who enjoy those games. I've had fun with games like that in the past, so I can really see it. Rendering wise, it looked a lot like things we saw in No Man's Sky's like later updates in terms of rendering, like all the motion blur, all like the clouds, the way they look. A lot of that was there. And so I don't really see anything new technologically here other than the way scattering is done. But, you know, I saw like screen space reflections, for example, when the dragon flying thing is going over the lake. So I'm curious to see where they also throw it out, which platforms. Will this be a Switch 2 title? It seems like it would be a great fit for that system, like in terms of what you do, play with your friends, child friendly. I would like to know.
Okay, yeah. I mean, there's an interesting sort of distinction when you sort of talk about procedural generation, which is to say that, you know, game worlds are now so large that the concept of artists actually placing individual bushes going down to that level it's a thing of the past. And, you know, you look at titles like, for example, Horizon Zero Dawn, Forbidden West. They actually just do some really clever procedural generation. You know, for example, you know, the shape of boulders in a river. You know, they can say, well, this river is like 10,000 years old, and the shape of the boulder could be defined by erosion to the boulder over that time period. That's the kind of crazy stuff that procedural generation just can do automatically for you as part of an artist-driven pipeline. So this does look a bit more crafted, shall we say, than No Man's Sky. And I think there is a big, you know, as you said, Alex, it's a big sort of differentiation between procedural generation as the entire basis of the aesthetic versus procedural generation as a, you know, part of a tool. I guess it also, you know, going back to like Skyrim, that game was like 3 gigs, and obviously, you know, the size of that map, there's going to be procedural generation involved to the nines. Yeah, but you know, Hello Games, they've, you know, total rehabilitation of their reputation based on continued support and free updates for No Man's Sky, and the game just has gone from strength to strength. And well, what can I say? I can't wait to see what they're doing with this one, because it's certainly a really strong introduction, I think. And it's great also to see that they're actually doing something that's, you know, very, very different to No Man's Sky, conceptually, artistically. Really, really fascinating stuff. And this is, you know, what we're seeing here apparently is the result of 5 years of development already. So yeah, I mean, looking really, really impressive.